On the protests outside correctional facilities all across the state of New York, the National Guard is now stepping in.
And we're learning more about a new letter to the guards from the commissioner. 2 on your side's Andy Payton is live outside the Attica Correctional Facility. How's all that being received, Andy?
Yeah, well, Scott and Mary Alice, for the first time, we're getting our hands on a letter from the State Corrections Department that really shows the state making an effort here to try to meet some of these correctional officers' demands. If we go to some video now, we can show you that letter. And the number one thing that they're addressing here is the HALT Act, which has been the biggest concern for these officers throughout this. The letter says that the HALT Act has been temporarily suspended until staffing levels are improved. And for those of you who don't know what the HALT Act is, it's a prison reform that limits solitary confinement to only a few weeks at most, when in the past it could have been months at a time, and in many ways takes a lot of leverage away from these officers when they try to punish inmates for misbehaving. We asked a few folks today if this temporary pause changes anything, and we'll listen to what they had to say here.
No, we don't want a temporary, because you're going to come back in 2 weeks and reinstitute it, and then we did all this for nothing. We're not punching bags and we're not stabbing dummies, right?
If we can walk in there and not have to worry about feces thrown at us, getting stabbed, getting sexually assaulted, if we can go in there and just a little bit is lessened, then that's why we came out here.
And now, while the governor is somewhat feeding their demand, she's also reprimanding them, saying that anyone who doesn't report to duty by midnight tonight will be disciplined for violating Taylor's Law, which prohibits state employees like these officers from striking. And as far as that discipline goes, that would likely be a 2-for-1, which means that for every 1 day that they continue to strike, they would then owe 2 days of wages to the states. But Scott and Mary Alice, as you can see behind me here from this presence, and behind them there's a few fire pits that we've been showing you over the course of the last few days. They don't seem to be too concerned at all about that possible disciplinary action there. In fact, they tell me that you cannot expect to see any of these officers walk across the street here and into that facility at midnight tonight. They say that they are not going anywhere. We'll of course have more on this story for you tonight at 11. But for now, live and on your side here in Attica, Andy Payton, Channel 2 News.
And we'll be there to cover it, Andy. We really appreciate the way you're covering this story. Thank you for that. And one thing striking corrections officers say that they want to see done is the rollback of the HALT Act that Andy was talking about. It stands for Humane Alternatives to Long-Term Solitary Confinement, and it went into effect back in 2022. The law puts limits on solitary confinement to 3 consecutive days or 6 days in any 30-day period, with the exception for so-called heinous or destructive conduct. But corrections officers say it actually leads to a lack of consequences and punishments in our prisons.
It doesn't allow anyone over 55 to be in solitary. It doesn't allow people under 21, people who are pregnant, people who have a disability. The yin and yang here of the correction guards saying it shouldn't be in place. It hampers their ability.
And repealing the law would need to be done by the state legislature, not the governor, although Governor Kathy Hochul has emergency powers to suspend it. And we are continuing to follow the developments in our state prison system. Stay close to Channel 2 News on all of our platforms. For the latest information online at WGRZ.com or our app and streaming on WGRZ+. We're all over the place. You can download it on your television right now, and you can watch for free.